Everything you call Mexican food, the hard-shelled taco, the chimichanga, the nachos loaded with orange cheese, none of it comes from Mexico. America invented it, named it after your culture, and called it authentic. Mexico has never heard of your favorite Mexican food, and the industry built on that fiction is worth $65 billion a year. The hard-shell taco, the one sold at Taco Bell, the one on every Taco Tuesday menu in every office break room in America, was invented in 1951 by a man named Glen Bell in San Bernardino, California. Bell was not Mexican. He was not a chef. He was a hot dog stand operator who watched Mexican workers eat soft corn tortillas at a nearby stand called Mitla Cafe, decided the texture was too messy for American customers, and engineered a pre-fried, U-shaped shell that could hold its filling without collapsing. He called his first version the Taco Burger. By 1962, he had opened the first Taco Bell in Downey, California. Go to Mexico City today, go to Guadalajara, to Oaxaca, to Monterrey, order a hard-shell taco. Your server will not know what you're asking for. The dish does not exist in Mexican culinary tradition. It was designed for American speed, American convenience, and American fast food economics. The hard-shell taco is not Mexican. It is a California invention with a Spanish name. But the hard-shell taco is not even the strangest origin in this story, because the dish, now synonymous with Mexican restaurants, football games, and American party culture, was invented specifically to feed American military wives who couldn't find lunch. To understand why this happened, you have to go back to Piedras Negras, Coahuila, on October 4, 1943. Piedras Negras sits directly across the Rio Grande from Eagle Pass, Texas. On that specific afternoon, a group of American military wives from Fort Duncan crossed the border looking for a meal. They arrived at a restaurant called the Victory Club after the kitchen had already closed. The man behind the counter was Ignacio Anaya, known to everyone as Nacho. He had almost nothing left. What he had was a tray of tostadas, a block of Wisconsin cheddar, not Mexican cheese, not cotija, not Oaxacan quesillo, Wisconsin cheddar, and a can of sliced jalapenos. He melted the cheese over the chips, added the jalapenos, served it, named the dish after himself, Nachos Especiales. The story sounds like a charming accident, but Anaya made that dish from American imported processed cheese to feed American military customers in a border town whose economy depended on American spending. The creation of nachos was not a Mexican cultural moment, it was a border transaction. What happened next is where the story accelerates. A Texas entrepreneur named Frank Liberto encountered nachos in San Antonio in the early 1970s and recognized something. This could be industrialized. He replaced the cheese with a processed liquid sauce, shelf-stable, pourable, no refrigeration required. At the 1976 World Series in Arlington Stadium, Liberto sold nachos to 40,000 people per game. He called the product Mexican food. The label moved faster than the history. By 1980, nachos were in every stadium, every movie theater, every chain restaurant in America. The name was Spanish, the ingredients were not. Here is the detail that changes everything. The orange cheese sauce, now served on nachos in every arena and movie theater in America, is derived from Velveeta, a processed cheese product invented in 1918 by a Swiss chemist named Emile Frey in Monroe, New York. It has no connection to Mexican cuisine, no Mexican ingredient, no Mexican inspiration. The single most recognizable element of America's most consumed Mexican dish was invented by a Swiss immigrant in upstate New York. And nachos are not even the most invented dish on this menu. What happened to the chimichanga is something else entirely, because the chimichanga doesn't have a Mexican origin story waiting to be recovered. It has no Mexican origin at all. The moment America got hold of Mexican ingredients, everything changed. And not in the way the Mexican-American community intended. The chimichanga was born in Tucson, Arizona, in 1922. Monica Flynn, founder of El Charro Cafe, was working her kitchen when she accidentally dropped a burrito into a deep fryer. She started to curse, caught herself in front of her nieces and nephews, and finished the word as chimichanga, a nonsense placeholder that meant nothing. The accident stayed on the menu. It spread through Arizona, then California, then the entire country as a signature Mexican dish. There are no chimichangas in Sonora. There are none in Jalisco, in Veracruz, in any region of Mexico. The dish that millions of Americans associate with Mexican cuisine was born from a kitchen accident in Arizona and named after a word that does not exist in any language. This is the pattern, and it repeats. a pre-fried shell built for American speed, a Swiss cheese sauce built for American scale, a deep-fried accident built for American appetite. Each one receives a Spanish name, each one appears on a menu under the word Mexican. And the actual cuisine, the mole negro that takes 3 days, the cochinita pibil, wrapped in banana leaves and slow-cooked in a pit, the regional diversity that UNESCO formally recognized as a World Cultural Heritage in 2010, stays invisible. By the 1970s, Tex-Mex had become the default definition of Mexican food across the United States. Food writer Diana Kennedy documented this collision in her 1972 book, The Cuisines of Mexico, one of the first serious attempts to distinguish authentic regional Mexican cooking from its Americanized replacement. The restaurant industry ignored her. Tex-Mex was scalable, real Mexican cuisine was not. The schools didn't teach you that your culture's food was re-engineered and sold back to you. The restaurants certainly didn't. If this is the first time you're hearing it, subscribe to Untold Menu. This is what food history actually looks like. But here's what makes this more than a history lesson. The Mexican-American community did not disappear from this story. They built the restaurants. They trained the cooks, staffed the kitchens, and fed the country for generations. The industry that erased Mexican culinary identity was built in very large part on Mexican and Mexican-American labor. The twist is not simply that America invented a false version of Mexican food. The twist is that America made that false version one of the most consumed cuisines in the country, $65 billion in annual revenue, second only to American cuisine itself, while the culture used to brand it received almost none of the credit and a fraction of the profit. You can eat a Mexican meal every single day in this country and never encounter one dish that originates in Mexico. Because what this story is really about is not food. It is about what happens when a culture's identity becomes a product category. When the food your grandmother made, masa pressed by hand, moles simmered across 3 days, tamales wrapped in corn husks on Christmas Eve, is replaced in the American imagination by a pre-fried shell in a New York cheese sauce, and that replacement is called authentic. Mexican cuisine was designated a UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage of Humanity in 2010, one of only 2 national cuisines in the world to receive that recognition. The committee cited the complexity, the pre-Columbian roots, the living oral tradition passed between generations. None of that can be produced at a Taco Bell. None of it fits inside a chimichanga. None of it moves fast enough for American fast food economics. So America didn't take that version. It took the border version, the ranching food of northern Mexico and Texas, simplified it, processed it, deep-fried it, added a Swiss cheese product, and put the word Mexican on the sign. The families who kept the real thing alive did so quietly, in home kitchens, at Sunday dinners, at quinceañeras and funerals and birthdays, where the food on the table bore no resemblance to anything on an American-Mexican restaurant menu. That food never disappeared. It never needed to be recovered. It was never lost. What was lost was the story, the public version, the one America tells when it describes your culture's food to the rest of the world. Mexico didn't lose its cuisine. America just never bothered to find out what it was.